Alright, buckle up, because a massive storm is barreling towards the United States over the next few days, and it's going to stir up some serious trouble, including the return of significant severe weather. We're talking damaging winds, large hail, and yes, a real risk of tornadoes. On top of that, a major flood risk could develop over the next few days in places like California and even stretching back into the central and southern plains. So, in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the wild weather that's set to impact the United States over the next 7 days, and we'll kick things off with what's happening across the country today. We've actually got a winter weather event unfolding right now across the Northeast, with a little bit of snow dusting northern New England this morning. For the rest of the Northeast, it's just a rainy day for the next several hours. And get this, we actually had one tornado warning pop up last night way over in southwest Pennsylvania. It might have caught some of you by surprise. There was a slight threat for severe weather, but we didn't really see anything too crazy, just some isolated damaging winds and maybe a quick spin-up. But outside of that, no tornadoes have been officially reported from yesterday's event so far. And over the next 24 hours, this storm system will push offshore, which will make room for our next major player, which will be rolling in off the California coastline in the next couple of days. A low-pressure system is just hanging out offshore from Los Angeles this morning. This thing is going to trek into the central plains tonight and into early tomorrow, and it will bring the potential for some showers and isolated thunderstorms, and even a little bit of snow across the northern plains and the Midwest from Monday into Tuesday. Then, by Wednesday and Thursday, we're bracing for yet another big storm coming off the coast of California, and that is going to be the one that could bring the whole menu of severe weather, flooding, heavy rainfall, and a whole lot of other problems. Now, over the next few days, we're going to see multiple storm systems hitting the United States. So let's talk more about that by looking at our jet stream and what's happening in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. This is the scene right now. We have a huge dip in our jet stream across the Midwest and the Northeast. That's what's allowing colder air to build up and slide into New England over the next couple of days. Meanwhile, this is the storm system that is now making its way into California. That's going to bring some storm activity tomorrow to the Central Plains and the Ohio Valley, along with a little bit of snowfall. We'll dive into the details on that in just a moment. But check out how this weather pattern evolves as we head from Monday into Tuesday. That little low-pressure system cruises into Nebraska and Iowa. We might see some very isolated severe storms tomorrow evening, but honestly, it doesn't look very impressive. The real show is off the coast of California, where our next big storm system will be setting up shop on Tuesday. This is going to bring even more rain to the west coast, which means more flooding headaches are likely, but the period we're really watching is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday across the central and southern plains and the deep south, as we could have a significant severe weather outbreak and a major flooding threat unfold all within 72 hours. So, this is definitely a big storm we need to keep on our radar. Now, the biggest question mark with this storm is how that low-pressure system evolves from Wednesday into Thursday, and just how fast it moves. That's going to determine how significant our severe weather threat becomes and also where the biggest flooding threat is going to set up. But it's looking like from Wednesday into Thursday, we're going to have a very strong flow from the southwest charging across Oklahoma, Texas, and even parts of Arkansas. This is the fuel that will feed a risk of severe weather. This could all kick off as early as Wednesday in Texas, but Thursday looks to be the main event for the southern plains with at least a damaging wind threat in play. But a few tornadoes definitely seem possible. Then, from Friday into Saturday, this low-pressure system will get very stretched out and won't be very organized, and honestly, it's not going to look very healthy overall, but it will continue to bring some showers and maybe an isolated risk of severe weather on Friday to parts of the Ohio Valley. And then by Saturday into Sunday, it kind of gets absorbed by the jet stream way up into parts of Canada. And then, as we head into the very end of November, there's been a lot of buzz about some sort of massive Arctic blast being in play. I really do think that at some point in the last few days of November, we are going to see some Arctic air, or at least some kind of cold blast, hit the United States. But here's the deal. Nobody knows, myself included, exactly how cold it's going to get or when this cold front will arrive. But it seems likely that during the last week of November, we'll see something happen right around Thanksgiving. Now let's talk more about this big storm heading for the United States over the next few days. We'll begin with what's happening today. Snow is still falling across New England and also across parts of New York and Pennsylvania. Generally speaking, it's very light snow, so we're not really talking about a whole lot of accumulation today, but maybe a few more inches of snow on top of what we saw last night. Later today, we'll continue to see plenty of rain along the west coast and some snow in the higher elevations of places like Utah, Nevada, and also California. Early Monday, the low-pressure system will make its way across the northern plains. It's going to take a really strange track, moving northeast. It's actually going to head towards the northern plains Monday morning, which will actually help to lessen the chances for severe weather on Monday. We are going to be watching for some snowfall across Minnesota and Wisconsin on Monday, so definitely keep an eye out for that. There could be some spots that see around 2 to 4, maybe upwards of 3 to 6 inches of snow from Monday evening into early Tuesday. There's a very low risk of isolated severe weather on Monday evening. We actually have a very favorable environment for tornadoes across parts of Oklahoma, but the storms just aren't going to get their act together and we'll have a lid on the atmosphere. So I think the threat of severe weather is basically almost zero for Monday evening. The only thing I can see happening is some elevated storms that could produce some hail in parts of Missouri and Illinois. So watch out for that. That would mostly be an overnight threat for those areas though. Tuesday morning, snow will continue across parts of Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. So get ready for a little bit of snowfall. But again, we're not really talking about that much heavy snow from this or anything concentrated that would lead to upwards of a foot of snow, like what we saw with that lake effect snow event a little over a week ago. As we go into Wednesday morning, we have a new low-pressure system, the one that could bring the whole menu of severe weather, flooding, heavy rainfall, and a whole lot of other problems. Now, over the next few days, we're going to see multiple storm systems hitting the United States. So let's talk more about that by looking at our jet stream and what's happening in the mid-levels into Thursday across Texas and Oklahoma. Notice just how much rain is going to be falling in this area. All those greens and yellows mean moderate to heavy rainfall is going to be in play for much of Wednesday and Thursday. And this could lead to a significant flooding threat across the central for our next major player, which will be rolling in off the California coastline in the next couple of days. A low-pressure system is just hanging out offshore from Los Angeles this morning. This thing is going to trek into the central plains tonight and into early tomorrow, and it will bring, if we were to have a big day of severe weather, it would most likely happen on Thursday as these storms will be a bit more organized. Our low-pressure system will also be more organized with plenty of spin near the ground. It looks like it's going to be a pretty messy setup on Thursday, with most likely a few clusters of thunderstorms bringing mainly a damaging wind threat, but tornadoes are definitely going to be in play in this environment with how much wind shear we are going to have in place on Thursday. So be on alert for this from Kansas City all the way down through Houston, Texas, and yes, that includes Oklahoma City and the Dallas-Fort Worth area on Thursday. Then, as we head into early Friday, this low-pressure system treks up into the Midwest, but it's going to get really stretched out and disorganized, so it's not looking like much of a threat. Texas, and yes, that includes Oklahoma City and the Dallas-Fort Worth area on Thursday. Then, as we head into early Friday, this low-pressure system treks up into the Midwest, but it's going to get really stretched out and disorganized, so it's not looking like much of a threat. When the forecast gets a lot more tricky, however, it definitely looks like our weather pattern is staying active through the very last week of November. I'm talking right around the Thanksgiving and Black Friday timeframe. Now, all through the work week, we're going to see plenty of rainfall, which for some of you is great news. Your plants are going to get a nice, long drink. But for others, we could be looking at a legitimate flooding threat, especially Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, when we're expecting the most significant downpours. And get this, we'll see some areas, even across Oklahoma and Texas, that could easily pick up a widespread 2 to 4 inches of rain. And look at this bullseye right along the Red River Valley. That's a huge clue that, yes, some spots could get slammed with 4 to 8 inches of rain in a really short amount of time. We're talking just 24 to 48 hours for some of these spots to see their maximum rainfall, which absolutely means we have a possibility of some flooding that could get pretty serious at times. Now, if we turn our attention to the northern edge of this low-pressure system, across the Midwest, that's where we're forecasting a widespread 1 to 3 inches of rain. This total includes the rain coming in the next 48 hours from that weaker system, plus what's coming with the main storm on Thursday and Friday. And then over in the Ohio Valley, you're also likely to pick up around 1 to 3 inches of rain. So this will certainly help with the drought situation, but the bottom line is it's going to be a ton of rain for some places, especially Texas and Oklahoma, where some localized spots could see totals pushing 8 inches. Now, get ready for some big temperature swings over the next couple of weeks. It looks like right now, we've got above average temperatures all across the Rockies, the West Coast, and the Southern Plains, with a little pocket of chilly air building over the Great Lakes. And as we head into Monday and Tuesday, a whole lot of cold air is going to plunge into New England and across the mid-Atlantic. We're talking temperatures way below average, for some spots as much as 20 degrees below normal in places like Washington, D.C. for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Meanwhile, warm air is going to build just about everywhere east of the Rockies, though we'll see some cold air hang on across the desert Southwest for Wednesday and Thursday. Then, by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there really isn't a whole lot of temperature change on the map for the United States. In fact, anywhere east of the Rockies, you'll see very few, if any, cold fronts making an impact. We will have a very weak front on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday tied to that severe weather setup, but that is times, not times Arctic air, folks. We're talking maybe a 5 to 10 degree temperature drop, which over a 24-hour span is really not much to write home about. And this is the big one, by the time we get into the last week of November, I've been hinting at this for a couple of days now, and we talked about it yesterday. There have been some viral posts flying around social media talking about this massive Arctic blast. And yes, it is a real possibility. It's just too early to nail down exactly when it's going to happen or just how cold it's going to get. So you're going to want to stay tuned to the channel for updates on that. Again, I do think the very end of November and the start of December will be below average for much of the United States. It's really just a question of how powerful this Arctic air is going to be, but it does look very likely that something times is on the way. And hey, if you don't want to take my word for it, just look at the Climate Prediction Center's official forecast for the end of November into early December. It's indicating a higher likelihood of below-average temperatures across the central and northern plains, the Midwest, and back into the Northeast, with above-average temps across the Southeast. That kind of pattern is a classic setup for some serious Arctic air during that time frame. We could even see some snow to go along with it. So yeah, things are about to get pretty interesting as we close out the month, and as always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below